Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to talk about the Powerflex Gumball 56mm 103A wheels. These guys. Now starting off with the packaging is very basic. You get the wheels, a little placard that has the branding on it, and it's all just wrapped in plastic wrap. Now the card did show people skating the wheels, which I think is really nice. It shows that there's actually people who skate them, and there's all forms of skating being done with it. And on the back of that card is their mission statements, just saying how they want to provide a really great wheel. It's just things like that. I think it's a really nice detail and it adds a little personal touch. Now for the measurements, if you care about that type of thing, when I got the wheels right out the package, I measured them with my caliper. So the wheel diameter is actually 55.5 millimeters instead of the 56 millimeter. I did weigh them using a kitchen scale in grams. The reference point I used was the Spitfire 56 millimeter conical foals. These Powerflex wheels are 6 grams lighter than those Spitfires, but there's also other factors in play that can contribute to that weight difference, such as the different shape, because the conical foals have a lot more material, they're a lot more wider than the Powerflex wheels. The width of the wheel is 33.39 millimeters, and the riding surface, the part that actually touches the ground, is 20.99 millimeters. Now, if you're wondering whether it's like a skinny wheel or a very wide wheel, I found that they're actually the same size, same shape, or similar shape as the Bones SPF Heat 5 Cycut shape. I put them next to each other, and they look extremely similar. Maybe like a tiny bit difference off, like what, a couple millimeters or whatnot, but they're very similar to the P5 shape. Alright, now let's talk about the performance. They feel a lot like the Bones STF's 103A, except not so gummy or chalky. Need to talk about the Bones STFs a little bit to give you a little bit better understanding. So the STFs have a really great grip and slide, but they feel inconsistent, where at times they can feel like they grip too much, and sometimes they feel like they don't want to slide when you need them to. Now with the Powerflex wheels, they have the same grip as the STFs, the harder ones from my experience, but they actually slid when I wanted them to, they gripped when I wanted them to, and I didn't have that weird soft, chalky, gummy feeling that STFs have. And it's honestly a feeling that's really hard to explain on camera, but if you ever skated those STF 103A wheels before, you'll know that feeling I mean. The wheel is also a dual durometer wheel, which provides a couple neat effects. The urethane has a separate core that's a little bit different hardness than the urethane. Well, not a little, it's a lot actually. It measures as 55D according to Powerflex. And Powerflex says that the core is designed to, quote, it's designed for a perfect spin, but absorbs more shock than any single wheel ever could. Now, going back to that statement, honestly, I didn't really feel a noticeable difference when it came to shock absorption, which is what Powerflex says their wheel is designed for. At most, maybe it did something to reduce shock, especially on rougher ground. But I honestly think that the urethane formula had more to do in that part, since single urethane wheels also have some good shock absorption like Spitfire and Bones. If it did make a difference, it wasn't something that I immediately noticed. I would say it's kind of like, regular trucks versus hollow trucks. There's a difference, but it's not something noticeable that you'll feel. It's just something that's there in the background. That's how I think that those wheel shock absorption feature is like. But for the spin part, they didn't explain how a dual durometer wheel works in that regard. So my information is pulled from a couple longboarders, where dual durometer wheels are a bit more common. So basically, dual durometer wheels exist to combine the good parts of both small wheels and hard wheels. So in a basic sense, small wheels have more acceleration, meaning they'll spin up faster from standstill, but they'll have less momentum, meaning that they won't spin for long. While the larger wheels have the opposite effect. Well, they have less acceleration, so they'll take longer to spin up from standstill, but they have more momentum, meaning that they'll roll much longer than the smaller wheels. But when you surround a hard core with a softer urethane, you get the best of both worlds, where you get the acceleration of a smaller wheel, but the momentum of a larger wheel. Now, from that concept that I just explained, I definitely felt it come into reality. So I was coming off from the Spitfire Formula 4 conical fulls and the small 53mm wheels, which were both on the opposite ends of the wheel size and shape chart. The conical fulls are a much larger, wider wheel, while the small wheels, they're smaller in diameter, they're a smaller shape, and they're thinner. So after I got used to the acceleration of the small wheels from my previous video, the riding the Spitfire conical fulls felt like a chore because I felt like I couldn't pick up the speed that I need to skate efficiently, especially when it came to like pumping in a bowl or like a mini ramp or whatnot. Like eventually I will get that momentum going, but starting from getting that acceleration felt like a chore. I honestly thought that I needed to clean my bearings, or even worse, buy new bearings. So without cleaning my bearings or switching to the new ones, I tried out the Powerflex wheels straight from those Spitfire conical fulls, and all the problems I had with the small wheels and the Spitfire wheels were gone. They spun really fast from standstill, and they kept their speed for a good long time. And this was a blessing in both park and streets. Now, skating the ramps and the bowls, they felt way easier because I didn't have to push so much or wish for more speed. When instead, I just had it when I needed it. So any point where I lost speed or whatnot, that was more of a skill issue. More on my fault rather than the gear itself. So honestly, I didn't get to skate as much street as I wanted to, but during the times I did, they felt really great and consistent with my experience at the park. There isn't really anything I would point out that's like different between park and street besides the obvious, grilling on rougher ground, a little bit more bumpy. I felt that they handled like the rougher grounds really, really well. I didn't notice any like big noticeable slowdowns like I had with the small wheels. Yeah, on street they gripped well, didn't get bothered by the cracks in the ground, and they kept their speed. Again, being consistent with the experience I had at the skate parks. Let's take a look at that. Now, I said a lot of good things about the wheels, but what's the bad things? Now, honestly, they don't have a too great of flat spot resistance. I remember on my first day, I got some sort of noticeable flat spot that made a bunch of noise and made the rolling feel janky. Or, you get the flat spot and it's like the da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da sounds. I had that on the first day. But eventually it smoothed itself out on the same day, and it really didn't affect my performance or skate-wise, it still rode fine. It was just kind of annoying, and it went away eventually. I also did get a good sized chunk of the wheel taken out when I skated streets after I rode over like this unpaved part of the road. But honestly, I didn't even notice it until I went home hours later and I took a look at my wheels, and I didn't feel it at all when I was riding on like normal roads. And if this part matters to you, they don't offer a lot of cosmetic options. So how they do their cosmetics is that they don't do graphics, but instead they do colored cores. So for me, I have the black core, but they also come in colors like blue, green, red. I think they do white as well. And then instead of printing a graphic onto the wheel, they just imprint their brand name, place of origin onto the core itself. And the urethane is just going to be white. You don't get like, fun colors like tie-dye, blue, pink, that sort of stuff. For me personally, I do like to decorate my board a little bit. It's not the end of the world if I don't get like color wheels or whatever, but I know for some people they want to have that sort of option. Where it's kind of like a deal breaker, have like a really nice graphic or color combination or whatnot. But with the Powerflex wheels, you're not going to get any of that. You're just going to get some really basic colors like white, green, white, black, that sort of thing. It's also really not easy to find them in a skate shop. The only two places I know is from Powerflex itself and from SoCal Skate Shop, which is where I got my wheels. I had to order them off SoCal Skate Shop, but I would have preferred to buy them from like a shop that's more near me. And this might be because Powerflex doesn't have that marketing and the size that bigger wheel brands have. I know that Powerflex is from the 70s or 80s. I don't know their entire history. But even though they're an older brand, they're just not big like the older brands that are still relevant today, like Dogtown, Powell Peralta, Black Label, like those sort of brands. That was considered them like much more smaller. So yeah, if you're one that doesn't really like ordering online, but you'll rather buy it from your local shop, you might be out of luck, honestly. Again, those were the only two places I know that sell Powerflex themselves and SoCal Skate Shop. But hey, it might not hurt to ask your local shop to see if they can get an account with Powerflex. Now, the performance stayed consistent from the day I first wrote them to the day this review was uploaded. I didn't notice any performance changes with like rolling, grip, speed, that sort of thing. It all felt the same from the day I got them to now. And in all honesty, I really felt like these performed better than my Spitfire Formula 4s, at least in my experience. I don't know about your experience with Formula 4s, but for me, the Powerflex performed better. The positives outweigh the negatives. The flat spots, the the urethane coming off the wheel, limited color options or whatnot, that stuff doesn't really bother me. I know it bothers some people, and it might be a deal breaker. So I wouldn't say I like recommend them whenever. I would just say get what works best for you, or if you want to try something new. Honestly, it might be my favorite wheel now. It's gonna be like very hard to compare them to other wheels now. If I do more wheel reviews, I'll still compare them to Spitfire Formula 4, but just do take note that right now, Powerflex is my favorite wheel brand, and it takes a lot for me to say that, like about favorite wheel brands, because usually I just get what works. But with the Powerflex wheels, they just do everything I needed them to do. And you might be off-put about the very hard durometer, but durometer, that's more of a marketing thing, but that's a whole different topic for another video. I am trying to think more about what to say about the Powerflex wheels, but I feel like I covered all of it. Basically, sum it up, very good, better than I was expecting. It has some negatives, but the positives outweigh the negatives in my experience. So yeah, that has been the Powerflex wheels review. Let me know what you think in the comments, and if I missed anything, just let me know. And I'll see you in the next video.